Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, hello, my name is Lisa, and if you are returning, then thank you so much for coming back. I am going to do a little bit of a Q&A today, and I thought I would go into a little bit of back history about myself, how I came to do YouTube, and yeah, I thought I'd just give you a little insight into me and my life. So if you don't already have a drink, grab yourself your favourite drink of choice, some snacks, snuggle up on that sofa, a couple of cosy blankets. This is going to be a juicy one, and probably the first time you're finding out a lot more about me as a person. I will just say that I've come up to film and next door are having some work done to their garden, which is highly annoying for me because every now and then I can hear them talking and a little bit of banging. So I really hope that that doesn't come up on camera and it's not annoying. I could go to another part of the house, but the sun or the light isn't that great first thing in the morning, and yeah, it's only just gone 9 o'clock, so I wanted the best kind of lighting for you. Okay, so let's go back. Firstly, I am now 46 and I've had many jobs in my lifetime, but if we go back to leaving school, I'd say I struggled in school quite a bit, and I never really had the understanding of why I struggled at school. I always struggled to read, listen in class. I was always the one that got called up and said, Lisa, what did I just say? And I'd be like, I don't know. And the presumption was that I hadn't been listening. Well, I was listening. It's just that information wasn't being absorbed into my brain. I then found out later on in adulthood that I am dyslexic, and that opened up a lot of things in my own understanding of why I struggled so much at school. And I guess if we're going to go deep here, deep rooted, I think it always bothered me of how I was treated at school. And I wouldn't say I had the nicest of teachers. I always felt like I was picked on. And yeah, maybe that is why I've come to end up doing the job that I do, which I will go into later. But yeah, I left school. I was very, very, very arty at school. I always remember my ceramics teacher begging me to go on to A-levels, and I didn't. And I just think that I'm a very creative person. I wouldn't say academically I am amazing. And I just felt that there weren't really many jobs for artistic people, creative people. So I ended up joining a hairdressing course. So I enrolled myself on the hairdressing course, which was I think 2-year course. And I did a little bit of beauty. It was only facials and manicure attached to that. I then came out of there with a qualification. In the meantime, I'd already got myself a Saturday job at a salon. So from quite a young age, I was working in there. I also got a job as a cleaner for the company that my mum worked for. So from about the age of 15, I had 2 jobs, and I was also attending college. My birthday is in June, so I was one of the youngest. So I left school when I was 15, whereas most of my friends were 16. So yeah, I had 2 jobs at the age of 15. So I've always been a worker. I've always worked my butt off. And I came to leave hairdressing because, a long story short, but I got on the grapevine because I was very close friends with one member of staff that I work with. And I heard on the grapevine that he was going to fire me. Basically, he had taken on too many staff and he couldn't afford to pay us all. And I wasn't actually the last in. So I don't know why I was the first out, but I did all my research. I contacted Citizens Advice. I found out where I stood legally. And yeah, so the day he took me into the back office and said that I had lost my job, I just said as calmly as anything, okay. And I left because I knew where I stood legally. I did actually take that employer to court. Looking back now, I just think, bloody hell, I was 17 years of age and I took my employer to court, and I pooped myself when I was in that courtroom. But anyway, I won, and I came out with, I think, about £1,000, which, you know, back then, I think it was around £1,000, which back then was quite a lot of money. So I then started up my own mobile hairdressing business, and that wasn't overly successful. Then I started searching for jobs. I then found that because I had taken my employer to court, that then went against me for future jobs, which is utter madness because I was well within my rights because he fired me for no good reason. So then I ended up going on to a temping agency, and I got a few jobs as a receptionist. And then the second job, I stayed in that job for well over a year, and I was a receptionist for a giant company. Still drive past there occasionally now and think, wow, I can't believe that little old me was in there. But yeah, I did that. I say it was a year. It was probably it was way more than a year. It was probably a good couple of years, I would say. And I fell pregnant with my eldest daughter. I'm not going to go into that too much, but it was a very, let's say, abusive, controlling relationship. That pregnancy was planned, and then the second he found out I was pregnant, he, let's say it politely, went cuckoo. And then I was thrown out of the home that I was living in with him. I literally came home one day to find my bags outside in black sacks. I left that relationship. I went and moved back with my parents for about 4 weeks while I saved up some money for my first rental home. And yeah, I lived there for, I think it was about 2.5 years. It was actually a rental through I think it was it Barrett Homes? And they obviously couldn't sell all the houses. So after 2.5 years, they wanted to give it a go of selling it. And I was absolutely gutted because I love that house. And it was a beautiful house. I just loved it. But anyway, then moved into my second home. That's where I met my husband just before my daughter was 4 years old. And love at first sight. Literally love at first sight. I met him, and that night I knew I'd met my husband. I knew I'd met the man I was going to marry. And I actually remember going to my parents the next day and saying, I have met the man that I'm going to spend the rest of my life with, which I know seems utter madness to a lot of other people, but it wasn't to me, and it still isn't. I do believe in true love. I do believe in soulmates. We are very, very, very different people with lots of different interests, but it really works. And this year we have been married 20 years and been together, I think, 24. So yeah, I met him within 6 months. We were trying for my son, which probably a lot of you thinking that was brave. And looking back now, it probably was, considering the relationship that I was in with my first child literally went to shit. But I don't know. I just knew with my husband, I did have a lot of insecurities due to previous relationships, but I just knew. And yeah, then we had my son together. We moved from that home into a 3-bed because we were in a 2-bed at the time, so we didn't have enough rooms. And we hopped from that rental to another. So we were actually in 3 rentals. In the second rental, that's when we got married, and then we moved to another rental, which was out of the area that we loved, but it was ensuring we had a bigger home for a lot less rent. So I think what I'm trying to say is that basically majority of my married life, we have been brassic. We did make the decision with the 2 children we had together that I would be a stay-at-home mum. I will say that I still had part-time jobs throughout that whole time, but not obviously a full-time income. So yeah, we were brassic. And then when my daughter got to school age, in fact, before she got to school age, I then trained to be a teaching assistant. And I got my first full-time job, I think that would have been first part-time job with that particular school. And that was, I think, around the time that my daughter started school. Yes, it is. So I worked part-time in the school as a one-to-one teaching assistant, and I really loved that. I felt really passionate. I found this deeper level of self-discovery that I really loved, helping children, changing a child's life, creating some positivity to a child's life. Just, I don't know, being the safety and security that not all children sadly get from whoever they are living with. And yeah, I stayed in that for about 12 months, and then a full-time position came up, and I just thought that I was crazy not to take it. And just to put in perspective, at that time I was working with year 2 children, which is around the age of 6 and 7. I had worked in reception and didn't feel it was for me. I'd also done year 1. It was okay, but I just felt that at year 2, children were a little bit more settled. The curriculum was a lot more, not stable, but regimented, I'd say. So, after a year, I then became a full-time TA, and really, really loved it. Then over the next, I'd say about 10 years, I noticed a massive change in mainstream education. I'm not going to go too much into detail about that because you never know if it's going to offend somebody. Anyone who I meet that has worked in mainstream education feels exactly the same. I just started to feel that nothing was about the children, that in a lot of cases it is run like a business, and I didn't like it. I really didn't like it, and I knew it wasn't for me. I had said for quite a while that I wanted to get out of that job, and I was just really, really deeply unhappy. And then I had an accident. So I came out of my local Sainsbury's, and they've got an element of the flooring that is tiled. And I went absolutely flying because it had been raining. I then ended up having a couple of months off work because I couldn't use my left or right wrist. And it was a nightmare. I was in constant pain. I had severe weakness to both my wrists. I had less maneuverability in them. So my movements were very restricted, and I was off for a few months. I then went back, COVID hit. And COVID hit, and then my dad hadn't been well for quite a while. He had rung his GP surgery many occasions, and they became quite rude on the phone. And yeah, they would end up answering the call saying, right, what can we do for you today, Mr. Sage? And they became very, very, very rude. And my dad had not long had a double heart bypass before that. So they were just fobbing him off, saying that it was to do with his heart, which even if it is to do with his heart, they shouldn't be fobbing him off. It should be something that's taken seriously. Anyway, it was actually my eldest daughter that had gone round one day, I think, for dinner. And my daughter and she's got a very, very, very strong bond with my mum and did my dad. She basically forced my dad and made him promise that he would ring 111. That all the symptoms he was saying weren't right. They'd gone on for months and months. He had lost a dramatic amount of weight, which in itself, I think, should have been a massive, massive red flag for any GP. So this was during a lockdown. My dad rang 111. A ambulance came out and he was admitted to hospital instantly. They initially thought that he had COVID. So obviously they ran COVID tests. They all came back negative. So then they started doing more investigations. He ended up having what is it called? I'm going to kick myself. It's basically where they take fluid out near the spine. You're all going to be screaming now. I can't remember what it is. But yeah, he had to have that done. Lots and lots of invasive checks. And yeah, he then was diagnosed with cancer, a rare form of cancer. And then because of COVID, he couldn't have chemotherapy. So he was put on what was worded to us as the miracle drug. That this drug was not released very often, and that they normally had to get the okay from the government because it was a very costly drug. So he started that, and for a while he improved. He started to put weight back on, and then after a certain amount of time, might have been 8-9 months, he then started to deteriorate, going back exactly the same way he was. We then found out that the drug that he'd been given, yes, is a miracle drug, but it's normally given after chemotherapy because it kind of does, I suppose, I think of it in my brain like the mopping up after chemotherapy. So the chemotherapy is the aggressive one. It goes in, it does its job, and then this one mops up the after effect and helps after chemotherapy. But obviously my dad had been given that the other way around. It was a fairly short battle, really. In total, I think it was around 18 months. Basically, it got to the point where he was producing I think it's white blood cells. I think it's the one that contains the oxygen to the body. I'm sure that's white blood cells. So he was going in, it initially started once a week and then it increased to 2 times a week, a blood transfusion of blood that had been specially treated, and it would replace those cells. Yeah, it kind of got into a vicious circle that he would have that done. He'd perk up, then he'd go back down. Then it increased to 2 times a week because the once a week wasn't enough. Then he became reliant upon it. It basically wasn't lasting. He was going downhill before the next one. Then he got told that there was nothing more they could do for him. At that point, my dad just wanted to come home. I've actually got a picture of him the day that he got told that he was going to come home essentially to die. And you think, oh my God, I'm actually getting upset. Sorry. You think that there would be so much sorrow and sadness in his eyes, but there wasn't. Sorry, I wasn't expecting this video to go this way. I promise I am going to get into your questions. I didn't want this video to be rehearsed, so I've just kind of like ran it and left things to spill out my mouth as they would. Sorry, what's upsetting me is that I can see that picture in my head, and I've got it on the wall in my living room. Hold on a moment. I'm back. Yeah, so that picture, he just looks, I think the look in the picture just speaks 1,000 words. He looks proud. He looks relieved, happy to be. It's like, the only way I could describe it is that in that moment of being told, yes, you're going home and yes, you are going to die, it's like there was this massive weight taken off his shoulders. I've just thought of that name that I was talking about earlier, a lumbar puncture. Oh my God. Do you know what? I'm actually fine about my dad's not being around, which you probably think, oh my God, you're a hot mess. How can you be? It's sometimes talking about memories, and thoughts and feelings that I felt around that time that makes me upset. Not the fact that my dad isn't here anymore. Yeah, in May he'll be gone 3 years, so it is still like really, really early days. Oh my God, I got myself together and now I'm like crying again. Anyway, the look on his face is just like utter relief, like happiness relief. The fact that somebody had taken the weight off his shoulders, that he wasn't going to suffer anymore, he wasn't going to be in pain anymore, and that there was an end to all of this. And that end wasn't a positive end, because obviously he was going to lose his life, but it was an end to suffering. And my dad, was always a very, very strong man. Oh God. He always, I don't think ever let on to anyone of how much pain and discomfort he was in. Even when my dad had double heart bypass, I do remember going in to see him in hospital, like fairly shortly after surgery, and that's probably the most scared I've ever seen my dad. Like literally the most scared. He looked like frightened, because I don't think he realised how like awful that surgery would be and how awful it'd make him feel afterwards. But that's probably the only time. It's probably the only time in my whole life that I actually saw my dad scared and frightful of something. He was just always such a strong man. And obviously none of us knew how much pain and suffering he was going through when he had cancer. But you could tell by the look on his face from that picture my mum took in hospital. It was just like everything had been lifted off his shoulders. But yeah. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I'm saying sorry, like people cry. This was meant to be like a really happy, jolly video, And I guess I've just gone back into my background a bit to let you guys know, and didn't really even plan to talk about my dad, but that's the flow of my life. And I suppose it is something major that happened in my life, and obviously not that long ago. So yeah. And then he came home, and we all knew he wouldn't last very long because he wasn't having the blood transfusions anymore. And the hospital said they could have kept him alive for longer, that they could have done these blood transfusions, but it was only prolonging what was going to happen. And I'm glad my dad made that decision for himself, because I think over an 18-month period, that's probably the only control he had. Which is sad, because it's control to end your life. And almost know that that decision you're making is going to affect everybody. All I can say is he was a very, very, very brave man. And someone, even though he's not on this planet anymore, somebody that I look up to so much, and is the inspiration for how I live my life now. I'm going to take a break. Okay, my eyes are feeling red raw, but I've sorted myself out and I'm going to carry on. Okay, so obviously I had all of that happening, and way before that I had actually thought about doing YouTube, and probably for about a year. And what held me back was the editing side. I didn't have a clue how to edit videos, and it just seemed like there would be no way on this earth I'd be able to teach myself. So that kind of like got forgotten about. Obviously everything going on with my dad, that didn't even enter my head. It was something that I thought about and forgotten about, really. The time around my dad passing was very, very chaotic. We were buying this house. Well, I say we were buying, we bought it, and we moved in, I think 3 days after my dad passed away, which I remember saying to my husband, oh my God, like, I don't know how I'm going to be able to do this. Like, it's too much going on. I was obviously a bit of an emotional wreck. And I just kept saying, like, how can we do this? And my husband's like, look, don't worry about it. You know, I'll do most of everything. You know, you just take it easy. And actually, it was probably the best thing that could have happened at that time. And it was really, really weird. So when my dad came back essentially to die, and he was only home for, I think, 5 days before he passed away, I feel like I'd had many conversations with my dad. I'd gone through like a grieving process, and the day that my mum, well, the morning that my mum called me to say my dad passed away, I jumped to my car, obviously, and went there straight away. I didn't shed one tear, and I just felt so at peace. And I felt like I'd done a lot of my grieving. I'm not saying that it wasn't nowhere near over, but I think as in coming to terms with the fact that he was going to die, I think I'd got through that in those 5 days and probably had no more tears left to dwindle out of my body. So when he did actually pass away, I just felt this whole element of calmness. And actually the person that I was seeing lying in that bed was not my dad. And I know it sounds really weird. I've only ever seen 2 dead people in my life, and that was my gran and my dad. And when people say that their soul leaves their body, I truly believe that, because I'm telling you now, both my gran and my dad, that was not them lying in that bed. Their soul has left their body. And I know it sounds really, really, really deep, but just by looking at them, you get that feeling. I can't describe it. So yeah, when I went that morning, I felt so calm, didn't shed a tear. The only thing I didn't stay for was when my dad was taken out of the house. I did stay when it was my gran, and that really, really, really upset me. So I said to my mum that that wasn't something that I was going to do, and I didn't. I left way before that happened. And then obviously we had the chaos of moving, but it really, really helped me. And looking back now, I there's so many parts of me that feels bad, but then I think, well, why should I feel bad? Because it did feel right. And I think my brain went into this overdrive state that I've got to get through moving house now. And I think it was the day after my dad had passed away, we had already hired a van to go to IKEA. We'd already hired it. And so the day afterwards, we went to IKEA. And yeah, looking back now, I think, oh my God, if somebody told me they did that after their dad passed away, I'd be like, that's weird. But it didn't feel weird. I just felt really calm. And I remember we stopped at Costa near where we live to get drinks to have on the way up to IKEA. And my friend came running over, and obviously I told her my dad had passed away. She was tearful, and I was fine. From my dad passing away, it has taught me so much. And I've always been a great believer in everything happens for a reason. And I'm not saying that I've got reason that my dad's passed away. I'm just talking about everything else in life. It gave me the kick up the bum. It taught me so much, and is still teaching me so much. Life is precious. You have to grab life by the balls, do whatever you want, because nobody knows how long they're going to be here. And nobody should ever make you feel a certain way to think that you can't do these things. So that then led me on to starting YouTube. I can't actually remember how long that was afterwards. I know I made a video when, I think this was actually my first ever video. Well, I say first ever, I did a few with my two daughters and my granddaughter. And I decided to take down those videos only because they weren't really relevant to my content now. So I think my first proper video that is still up would be when I got COVID. And I just thought, I'm not going to let anything stop me from doing this anymore. I'm not going to let excuses constantly pop in my head. And those excuses were, how am I going to be able to edit? I can really only use the internet on a laptop. I'm not computer savvy. How am I going to edit these? How am I going to find the music? Who do I use for editing? What are people going to think about me? Then all my insecurities. I've got a double chin. I've been a size 8 and I've had a double chin. It's hereditary, but it's something I hate. Obviously, my face is on camera all the time. There are so many things. And most of my life, I have cared and worried about what people think about me. And I got to 40 something, 46 now. I can't remember exactly what age, but I had this light bulb moment. And now I really don't give a crap what anyone thinks about me. Yes, I'm not saying that things wouldn't hurt me if people would talk about things that were my insecurities, like my double chin or my weight or my stomach or something like that. I'm not saying it wouldn't hurt. But is that going to define my life? Is that going to stop me from doing what I want to do? No. And when I'm out and about, my attitude now is, if I'm holding a camera and someone's staring at me, am I ever going to see that person again? The likelihood is probably 99.9% a big fat no. And don't get me wrong, I still get a little bit insecure, because you do get people thinking, why are you filming that? I don't care. I did my first video. I did lots of research. I found lots of things out, like you have to pay for a subscription for music to have on your videos, otherwise your videos get taken out. And so my music is all from Epidemic Sound. I pay a monthly subscription, and then all of my editing is through Adobe, and I think it's Adobe Premiere Rush. And again, I pay to them. So for the first, I think it took me a year to get I think it's 4,000 is it 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 watch hours? I think, until you're monetized. So for the first year, I earned diddly squat. In fact, probably spent hundreds. Obviously, everywhere I go, fuel, car parking. Obviously, then I was paying for the music, editing software. So for the first year, you don't earn anything. Don't get me wrong, it's nice to earn money from it. And now it's like a little added top up on top of my wages. But back then, and even now, I do it because I'm passionate about it. I love filming content, and what I probably most enjoy, that probably most YouTubers would not say, is the editing. I think it goes back to me being artistic, creative. I've done interior design. I feel like I'm skipping so much. So yeah, I've done interior design as well. Did I say that? I don't think I did. So yeah, there's a huge creative flair there for me that I love. And there aren't that many job opportunities that allow you to express that. I feel that I get that fix from YouTube, creating content, the way I edit, forming thumbnails, everything I just feel is creative. It allows me to show my creative flair. So yeah, I really, really do enjoy making videos. So I think one of the questions was why did I start YouTube? I think probably the first thing that entered my head was that I was watching YouTube loads throughout our lockdowns. And then it got to a point and I thought, well, I could do this. Why could I not do this? And things did go through my head was, am I too old? Because majority of YouTubers out there are really, really, really young. But again, am I going to let little things like that get in between? No, I'm not. The whole reason I started YouTube is because I saw other people doing it, thinking that why couldn't I do it? I would enjoy it, which I do. I love it. I guess my dad passing away gave me the giant kick up the bum to do what I wanted to do, or do what I thought I would enjoy, because life is too short, and it really, really is. I just love it. I love connecting with you guys. I love it when we chat through comments, because it makes it like real life then, because when you're speaking to a camera, sometimes it doesn't feel like real life. And when you get that feedback back or comments, it does mean loads to me. And it's a bit of a like reality check that people are actually watching these videos, although I can see that people are by the analytics. I don't know, it just still doesn't sink through. So somebody asked, was it scary? Starting YouTube, no, I wouldn't say it was scary. I quickly, and I don't know how, quickly taught myself how to edit videos. Nobody has ever showed me. And it was just a case of that nobody was going to help me do this. So I'm going to have to do it myself. And if there's something I come across that I don't know how to do or get stuck on, I'm going to have to just work it out. And that literally has been the case. And now I can edit a video so quickly, whereas back before, you know, I was still fathoming out how to actually edit a video. I'd say the scary part was I remember my first ever video going out, filming, and that was a Dunelm video, and I was so scared because all these things run through your head. Like, you watch YouTube and you think, okay, does everyone that go into these shops, do they ask permission to film? Do they just film? Am I going to get talked to? Am I going to get asked to stop? Am I going to get asked to see what I'm doing? So all these things are going through my head. I've never, ever, ever asked permission to film inside a shop. And I kind of have the attitude that if somebody comes up to me and asks what I'm doing, I'll tell them what I'm doing. If they tell me to stop, then I'll stop. No big deal. I remember filming things in Dunelm and quickly putting my phone down if anyone got close to me, because I didn't want anyone to know like what I was doing. So yeah, that part was scary. And someone asked, what camera do I use? Okay, so when I started filming, I went out and bought a Sony, I can't remember the name of it, but anyway, I've never used it. It's still in its box, and I have thought about selling it. And then I thought, well, you never ever know how things are going to go. If this ended up being full time, then I probably would go to, you know, that camera. But I don't. At the moment, I just use my iPhone. It's an iPhone 14 Pro Max. I did change my camera because I think I had an iPhone 13 and I was struggling with the memory side because it wasn't, I think it was only like 64 gig or something. So I did invest in an iPhone 14 Pro Max, and yeah, I love it. I've never actually had anyone comment that the quality of my videos aren't great. When we went to Florida last year, I did buy a GoPro, which I used a fair bit in the parks and the water park, because I just thought it'd be easier taking on rides, which it was. And obviously the last thing I want to do is drop my phone. So I did use a GoPro then, but yeah, I film on my iPhone 14 Pro Max. I don't know if you think the quality is good. I personally don't think that it's that bad. Whether I'll end up using that Sony camera, I don't know. It was very expensive, and I should do really, but I suppose it's just that added level of something else to learn. And working full time and doing YouTube, this girl does not have a lot of free time, trust me. So I don't think I'm in the place at the moment to be learning how to use another camera. So yeah, I probably will in the future. But somebody asked what job I do now. So backtracking a bit, I said that I was in mainstream schools and I was really, really, really unhappy. I then started looking for jobs, and again, some of you are going to think this is really, really, really stupid, but I talked to my dad a lot and I asked for his and my grand's help. I asked them for a job that I probably didn't think that would exist. I asked for a job that didn't feel like a job, asked for a job that was rewarding, that I was kind of like by myself. And yeah, I ended up getting what essentially was everything I asked for. So I am essentially a unqualified teacher. I go out to students that are not in mainstream education for whatever reason. Essentially, all have additional needs, which could be anything from autism, a learning disability, it could be anything really, mental health. And yeah, I go out, educate them, and it's not just about education, it's a lot of, I suppose, helping people, being there for people, giving guidance, positivity. It's so much more than just teaching. I love my job, love it. And just, yeah, it's just given me everything that I ever asked for, really. So yeah, I do that full time, Monday to Friday. And then I also film for you guys, which I either like film, say, a haul after work. If I am filming, say, a shop, then I do that on weekends. So yeah, my life is pretty chock-a-block, but I love it, and you don't get anywhere without putting in effort. My dream would be to do this full time. That would be my absolute dream. And I guess that is my goal. That is something that I would love. And I don't know how long that will take me. If I ever get there, I don't know. But I am a really determined, hardworking person. And I've always been hardworking. If I do something, I put 110% into it. And I think that's the only way something should ever be. And I hope that that comes across in my videos. I feel like I've got like a really, really good balance now. And yeah, I just love making content for you guys. So obviously that first year you don't earn anything. And it was actually on Christmas Day. What year would that have been? 2022, I became monetized, which was the best Christmas present, I have to say. And up until that point, I had no clue what I would earn from YouTube. And I mean, no clue. What I will say is, since I've been paid from YouTube, I probably don't come out with a lot of profit, if any, which probably will surprise some of you. You do not get paid a lot from YouTube. I mean, obviously there are YouTubers out there that earn shed loads, but at the moment, the amount of views I get and things on my videos, I don't earn a lot. And then by the time you've taken out your Epidemic Sound, Adobe subscription, that's a big chunk out of what you're earning. Then obviously it costs me to go anywhere. Now I'm over on an electric car, nowhere near as bad as what it was with petrol. I think on average, my electric car, for all of my work miles are around 500 a month. And then obviously, I don't know how many I do on top of that, probably close to being the same. My car costs us £30 in electric per month. £30. Maybe sometimes up to 36. Honestly, that car I bought is the best thing I've ever bought. Yes, obviously there is the outlay per month for it, which very kindly my husband pays. The insurance which I pay is a lot more. It's probably just under £100 a month, which is a lot more than what I was paying before, but obviously no tax at the moment. And yeah, £30 for essentially up to about 1,000 miles per month. It's just madness. And then car parking, obviously I do end up buying things that sometimes I don't need. I am trying to control that more now, as in that I am buying things, filming them, and trying to take back 99% of what I buy, unless there is something that, you know, I really, really like. And what I will do now is I'm trying to work it so that the things that I buy for filming, I put on my credit card. And then the things that I buy that I know I'm going to keep, say either for myself or my daughter or my husband or my son, then I'll put it on my debit card. So that's the way I've been working things just recently, and it seems to be working quite well. But yeah, I think there is this very grey area about how much YouTubers earn. And I had no idea when I started this. And obviously I didn't do it for earning money. I did it because it was something that I wanted to do and was passionate about. Obviously now I do want to earn money from it. I'd be stupid if I was to say I didn't want to earn money from it. I have outgoings, you know, the music, editing, that's an outgoing in itself. So at the moment I am covering those costs, but it would be lovely to be taking in a little bit more money that would just kind of cover my time, my effort. And I know I'll get there one day. And like I said, that's not just the reason for doing this. I do it because I enjoy it and I love it. And yeah, I've met lots of you lovely guys along the way. Next question, where do I live? Well, there are lots and lots of weirdos out on the internet. So I'm not going to obviously give out my address. I'm not even going to give out which area I live in. All I'm going to say is I live in the Gloucestershire area, which is huge. So that's all I'm willing to say. I'm not willing to give any insight of a town that I live in, anything like that, because I just don't trust some of the weirdos that are out on the internet. And I value my family so highly. I would never, ever, ever want to do anything that would pose a risk to them or have somebody knock on my door. I would be mortified if that was to ever happen. So yeah, Gloucestershire, that's all I'm going to say. Another question, which somebody thought was quite bland, but no question here is too bland, is what is the colour of the black paint in my house? So obviously I've got it here. Now the black paint I've used in my house in the living room and the bedroom is both the same because I adore the colour. So when we first moved in here, we had a he's a jack of all trades basically, and we had quite a bit of work done. He did the panelling, I did painting here, but he painted downstairs. And I was looking at paint colours. I knew I wanted, before we moved into this house, I knew I wanted black. I wanted a dramatic, cosy living room. Our living room in our old house was a rectangle and it was very long and I hated it. And when we came to visit this house, I loved the fact that it was square, cosy and smaller. So I started looking paint samples and I came across Farrow & Ball railings. So I've just said on here about how I am a bargain hunter, how I never pay full price for anything. I didn't. So I went to a company called Brewers. Now Brewers are all around the country, so definitely check out if you've got one near you. And they are a paint specialist and they make up paints. They also sell like other paint products as well. So I went in there and I had the paint made up through is it Dulux or Crown? I think it's Dulux. And Farrow & Ball, I don't know why they do this, but they give out the code to brewers and probably other companies so that it mixes up the exact same paint. I don't understand the logic and why they would do this, but anyway, they did it. So Farrow & Ball released the codes to brewers. They have machines, they type in the code and it gives you exact same paint colour. So it's not Farrow & Ball railings. It is essentially a dupe of that. Definitely check out Brewers. I love them. And if you sign up to their loyalty thing, you get, I think it's 20% off your first purchase. So I also did that. So yeah, the paint in this house, I just love. And I'm planning on doing our conservatory the same colour as well because I just love it. I just feel it's dramatic. It's kind of like a navy black and it looks different in different rooms. So in the bedroom, it looks more navy because I get a lot more sunlight in this room. And then in the living room, it looks more black. So I just love the paint. So anyway, that is the paint, Farrow & Ball railings, but a dupe. Okay, next question. What are my favourite foods? Okay, so I am not a fussy eater at all. I would try any food once, but if I don't like it, I don't like it. And to be honest with you, there aren't that many foods that I don't like. One food I cannot stand, I won't eat, is squid or octopus. No, I can't do it. It just tastes, and I have tried lots of different ones, like on holiday where it's fresher. I just don't like it. I think it's the texture. Yeah, don't like it. But favourite foods, I do love paella. I think that's how you say it. Paella. On holiday, I have made my own. I love lasagna. I love kebabs. My husband makes a mean homemade kebab. I don't know anything. There isn't many foods that I don't like or won't try. Whenever we go on holiday, I love to try something that I've never tried before. I love going to a supermarket, and what we would do is we'll collect a collection of foods that we've got no clue what they are. I love it. So yeah, I'm not fussy at all. Somebody asked, do I like to cook? Okay, so this is a bit of a tough one. I have Gusto boxes every day and I cook from scratch every day. And there's lots of reasons why I do that. Firstly, if I didn't do that, then I don't think we would eat healthy. And I would probably, I don't know, under the temptation then of going in the freezer. I don't really eat many processed foods. We have a takeaway probably once a week, and that's probably the only processed food I will eat. I will sometimes, while I'm out at work, I will grab myself a sandwich or a bacon roll from Greg's or something like that, but that's not, all the time. I do like cooking. The problem is when you work full time, to me it's just a chore, and it's something I dread. And if it was like I did it in the middle of the day, I probably wouldn't have much of an issue. It's the fact that I've been to work all day. I get in, I normally have paperwork for my job. Then every 2 days I have to wash my hair, which that's like a lengthy thing. Washing, blow drying, curling or straightening it. I think at the moment I feel a lot of resentment towards cooking because I'm the person that does the majority of cooking in our house. And yeah, I do love cooking. I would say I get more enjoyment out of baking, actually. I love baking, but I try not to do it too often because then it needs to be eaten and that's not good. So yeah, I do like to cook, but I just feel it is a huge chore. Next question is the final question, and then I'll kind of have a think of anything else that I've not gone into. Do I like food shopping? No, not really. So before I did Gusto, I used to get my food shopping delivered, mainly because I work all week and then I film on weekends. Where is the time to film food shop? And in between that and doing housework, it never felt like there was time. So what I tend to do now is my food shop is just snacks for the kids. So I do the Gusto and then I go to the supermarket once or twice a week. And I say supermarket, that might be farm foods. I might go to 3 different places in between jobs, or one place in between jobs, and I stock up on snacks for the kids. So that is like my daughter Isla loves like the Rustlers microwave burgers. So does my son. She likes soba noodles in the pots. They like snacky bits like what are they called? Are they just called Raiders? Are they called Raiders? Those little chicken things. Just snacky bits that they can just go to the cupboard and get quickly. But a weekly food shop, no, not really, not anymore, not since I've done Gusto. And I do love Gusto. It just solves a multitude of stresses in my life that could potentially be stresses. It's taken away stresses then, let's say that. So yeah, that's all of your questions. Oh, actually, was there one I missed? Did I miss this one? I think I did. What are my favourite videos to film? I can't remember if I said this. Did I? Obviously, I like to bring you bargains. I like to share the bargains that I find. But I'd say my favourite videos of all times are my holiday vlogs, which I know don't seem to get that many views. I don't understand why. I love travel. Maybe you guys just... There's lots of you that just don't enjoy watching travel vlogs, and that's fine, each to their own. But I love filming content when we are away for lots of reasons. Firstly, I don't have stresses of work, no work commitments. I feel relaxed. I feel happy. I've got all those endorphins running, all that sunlight coming through. I just feel so happy and content. And I've got time with my family. I adore spending time with my family. We go on holiday and we just laugh so much. I wish that I could film the things that I don't film. My husband is never in on the videos. He doesn't want to be, and I completely respect that. So I can film the back of his head, things like that. My kids are okay-ish with being in my videos, but sometimes I wish that I could film the things that I listen to and see that you don't, because we just have a laugh, honestly. Just take the absolute mick out of each other all the time. We're a very, very, very jokey family. We take the mick out of each other all the time. Nothing is serious. We rip shreds out of each other. It's just the way we are, but it is just hilarious. Like, you know, like gut-wrenching laughter. Like, and that's why I love holidays so much, because it's like that most days on holiday. I'll kind of see if there's any way I can kind of film that without them being shown. I don't know. The thing is in that moment, I'm not very good. You'd think I would be, as doing YouTube. You'd think I'd be really good at pulling out my camera every minute, but I'm not. I'm terrible. Unless it's like for a purpose that I know I'm going to film, I forget to take to film so much. But yeah, I love our holiday videos. We go on a holiday in, what day is it today? Go on holiday in 3 days. 3 days, and I am so excited. Like, I can't say how excited I am. We're going with my daughter's friend as well, who came to Florida with us. And that's another thing that I would say rolling on from my holiday vlogs is America. I don't know whether I've really gone into detail about this a lot on my channel, but I love America. I honestly don't believe that the UK is where I'm meant to live. And I know it sounds really weird. Okay, so I think the last bit I'm going to go into is something that probably a lot of you may not know about me. And it's nothing major, but so back when my eldest daughter was, I think 3, I went to Cyprus with my parents, just my parents. And I remember being sat on a beach. I can literally remember this memory as crystal clear as water. I remember sitting on a beach and my dad was stood up, I was sat, and Megs was off playing somewhere. And I don't even know what conversation I was having with my dad, but I remember looking up to my dad and just saying that I felt that the UK wasn't where I was destined to live. And I remember saying to him about how content and happy I feel when I go on holiday. And I know probably a lot of you are now thinking, well, that's because you're on holiday. It's not. It honestly is not. And I thought for many years that maybe it was that. But I know truly in my heart it's not to do with that. When we go to Florida, which is a huge, huge passion of ours, I honestly feel like I am returning home. Now, I'm not saying I would ever want to live in Florida, because that isn't where I would choose to live. But when I go back to America, I just have this overwhelming feel that I am returning home, and it's not my home. There is always this, I feel, if you were to think of me as a puzzle, I always feel there is one piece missing. I never ever feel really content here with my life. I always feel that there is something missing. And I don't know, I can't describe it. I just don't feel that I'm meant to be here. But then I also not really sure where I'm meant to be. And I would love to move to America, but it's just not easy. I actually watch Ellie Darby. I don't know if you watch her videos, but she has just moved to the US. And oh my gosh, I was watching a video last night of her saying that how much happier she feels, how much glowier she feels. That is me. I go to Florida and I just feel like so at peace with myself. I feel so, I'm going to stop myself now because I could actually get emotional, which is just so stupid. I don't want to end this video in tears. Look at my bags from like crying. My God, I've got to go to work yet as well. Oh, yeah. I just go there and just feel so happy. I can't describe how happy I feel. It's like when I go back to America, it's like internally there's this massive sigh of relief. I'm so happy. And I know this probably sounds really dramatic. And I can't describe what's going on inside. All I know is that I'm 46, 47 this year. And I feel a little bit panicky. I'm getting to this place where I don't feel that this is a place where I want to spend the rest of my life. And also I don't know how to get to where I would like to spend the rest of my life. I guess I'm just feeling a bit panicked by the fact that I don't want to look back in 20 years time and think it's too late or I didn't do it. I don't even know if it's feasible. America's such a hard place to get into. I think Ellie has been very fortunate that when you do YouTube can be anywhere in the world, whereas YouTube is not my main job. I wouldn't want to do any form of teaching out in America. I don't know what the future holds for us, but I just know that when I'm not in this country, I just feel this huge sigh of relief, freeness. I can't explain it. We are going to Florida for Christmas this year, actually. And yeah, I can't get it off my brain. But anyway, I am going to wrap up this video because I hate to think how long this is. And I don't even know if you are all going to be interested in this. I hope you are. I hope you find the parts of my life that I've shared with you interesting. I really do. And how I've come to where I have in my life. But if I can give any advice to any of you out there, is don't leave it to lose a loved one to realise how short life is and how you need to grab it by the balls, because it's so short. My eldest daughter is 27 this year. I have no clue how Megan is 27 this year. Literally have no clue. My son is going to be 22 this year. My youngest daughter is going to be 16. I don't know. Life is scary. And if there's things you want to do it. If you can find a way to do it, do it. We both work full time. We live comfortably. And I don't want loads of money in my bank account. It'd be lush, don't get me wrong. I'd prefer to build a bit of money up, go on a holiday, have nothing. Build a bit of money up, go on a holiday, have nothing. Because all I think about is when I saw my dad lying there, essentially dying, none of what he had purchased materialistic in his life, none of that was going with him. All of the memories were going with him. And you could say, well, why have we got a Tesla then? But actually it's creating memories. We're using that car to go places. I love driving that car. It makes me feel good. It's creating memories. Holidays just give you so many memories with your family or for yourself. And those are the things that we take with us. If I got told that I only had so long to live, the only thing that's going with me is my memories. And it's my mission now to create as many memories as possible for myself and for my family. And yeah, that's the only thing that I can say to you, if you're not doing already, to just do it. Create those memories, because we literally have one life and we need to live it to the fullest. I really hope you've enjoyed this. I'm going to end on that positive note. I do love all of you guys so much. I don't think when I started this, I ever thought that people would even watch my channel, let alone subscribe. So the fact that you watch me, you must like me. I hope so. you enjoy watching my content. Honestly, it just means more to me than anything. I appreciate you all so much. So yeah, I'm going to leave that here. Take care, everyone, and I will see you really soon in my next video. I love you so much. Bye.